Different. Thank you, Doug. Okay. It's just about 6:30, so I will call this evening's meeting of the select board to order here in Manchester by the Sea. Have a roll call vote on who is here. Brian.
I'm here.
Kathy.
Yes, I'm here.
Becky.
Yes.
And John is here. And I think that's it. There'll just be four of us this evening. So that's good. First on the agenda are public comments on non-agenda items. Is there anyone online or in the room who would like to make comments? Let me preface my comments here by saying this meeting is being recorded for, well, I guess for minutes, because I do not see Debbie here.
Debbie is not well tonight, so.
Oh, yes. All right, so that's the double reason for that. Okay. Chairman's report and action items. Chairman is away this evening. The action items that we have on the ever rolling list, I think there are 3 that we will be addressing this evening, dealing with Parks and Rec update with regard to sound and budgets, and that's the compensation study. I guess that's with you, Greg. Anything else that's going to be, should be added to this action items list for the future and or for consideration this evening?
There was something, but I can't remember, so I'll email it to Greg.
Okay.
I just came back and
As long as it's not tonight, there's
No,
plenty
no.
of time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Actually, I do have something.
Sure.
Parks and Rec has been approached a couple of different times. There's on social media as well, as far as the naming of the Pine Street Fields. There is, at this point, no criteria for naming the fields. As we are going forward, the potential of corporate sponsorships become more and more available. I don't know if we want to visit some criteria for sponsorship of public properties, fields, buildings, etc. That makes some sense.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
It feels like we should have some guidelines in general before we select names for any one thing. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, I don't know historically how some of the other fields have been named. When was the last field that was named?
It was Coachfield Field,
That must have been a long time ago.
or otherwise still known as.
So there's nobody active today per se that.
No, but there is, I mean, there has been some suggestions for Pine Street Field already.
I'm aware, yes.
And Parks and Rec are reviewing it now, and then there were some other issues that came up on social media or other names, so that's under consideration, and I think that'll probably something happen in the next 2 meetings with them.
Let's just put that on.
All right, so
Yes, I
we'll
just
put
wanted to
that,
run a-
we'll put that on the action item
Send it out a couple of months or whatever.
to consider a list of criteria
Mhm.
for the naming of the field. Okay. And I dropped by the field today, by the way. It's getting use.
Oh, yeah.
It looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
it looks like it's wearing a little bit, especially in front of the 2 goalie spots. Down the
Sure,
dirt.
where all the actions anyway.
Mhm.
Okay,
Natural field,
yeah,
a
well,
lot of rain.
that's what's gonna happen. Anything else on the action items? Nay? Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, first on the agenda that's running here are interviews. I think Revis is not, I think we're starting and ending with Michelle. Is that correct, Greg? Is Michelle here? Or
Online maybe?
online? Michelle Cooley. You see her?
No, I do not, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we can skip down. It's a little bit early, so we're gonna skip way down. let's go down to the consent agenda and cover those items at this point. We have, the minutes, I believe, just of September fifth. I don't think
Just the, yes.
that the eighteenth is not available yet. So, that's on the list. The victualler license for Jamie's Roast Beef. The memorial benches, 2 of them, Tux Point, and the plaque on an existing bench here on the town common. I'm not sure which one that is. The Eagle Scout Award. Any comments on the consent agenda with the exception of the September 18th minutes?
Motion to approve consent agenda as posted minus the September 5th, 2023 minutes.
Second,
Okay, good. Any further discussion on those items? Roll call vote. Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
yes,
Kathy?
Yes,
And John says yes. All right, done with the consent agenda, and we're still working on time. Anything you want to touch on the town administrator's report at this
Yeah, I
point?
can go over those items if
Okay,
you like.
that'd be fine.
So, update on some, construction work, the Walker Road water line replacement effort is getting underway. That'll be happening for, the rest of the year, most likely, through the end of December. There'll be some isolated disruption to services and also occasional one-way traffic will be taking place. So notices are going out to homeowners and we'll be letting them know those details as they progress. But Release will be doing the work, contractor. And, it's replacing the old water line.
Mhm.
So that's underway. Facility plan, the master plan, in terms of updating facilities. You commented on an earlier draft. We'll have another draft ready. I'm assuming you want to take a look at that at your meeting on the 16th. So we'll get that to you ahead of that meeting. And you can have any other comments that you find appropriate to wrap that up.
That engineering group will be here at that meeting.
Yes, yep. So again, we'll make sure to get that to you before the meeting, so you have time to read it, not just over the weekend. Update on our town planner search. Unfortunately, we were not able to bring our top candidate on board. Tough hiring climate, and our pay was not sufficient to lure them from another community. So we will be continuing to try to fill that position. We're looking at new interim hires. Betsy Ware, who's currently our interim planner, her time will end with us by the end of this week. So we are scrambling a little bit to try to make sure that there's not too much of a gap there. And we will continue to keep you appraised of how that is going.
Do we know how far off we are?
Well, for this one candidate, we were in the 15K range.
Mhm.
How does that affect the continuity with regard to the NDPA project?
Well, so that's one of the challenges. We do hope to bring on the consultant within the next couple of weeks. And we'll be brought on to help with that effort. So that'll certainly help pick up the slack.
The consultant has been identified and
We're waiting to hear back from a handful. So those are due the end of this week. And then we hope to make a selection by the end of next week.
mhm.
Yeah, and then, like I said, we're certainly working to find another interim as quickly as possible.
Is the pool as small as many other pools for municipal hires?
Yes.
That's,
they are.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Like I said,
Thought so.
it's, we have not had a flood of applications. So we will continue to find the payment. If you know of anyone, send them send them my way, please.
Were there any other aspects to the job that might have concerned the
dampening
applicant?
effect.
Yes,
Um,
because I have heard.
So I think it's no secret that we have a challenging environment right now. And so that might give potential applicants a pause.
Right.
So we're hoping to certainly work through those and overcome those challenges.
Thank you. See if I can get this on the Zoom.
Okay, moving on, on a more upbeat note, a couple of things. One, the conversations with the Masons in terms of a potential senior center, that's progressing. We hope to be able to bring a final proposal forward within the next month or so. So we're pleased to see that progress.
Oh, here we go.
Nice.
And so the concept there would be to seek voter approval for the funds for the purchase, kind of minimizing the structure. We would own a portion, the Masons would continue to own a portion, and then to embark on pretty aggressive fundraising campaign for the renovations and upgrades.
So what is the proposed proportion?
Percentage-wise,
Percentage-wise?
roughly 2/3 and a third, so 2/3 for the town. Yeah, in rough, numbers.
And so would you run it as a condominium, like you'd have a separate account escrow to,
Yes,
have a
For-
reserve
for-
account for capital
for capital
expenses and all that
improvements,
stuff?
that sort of
Okay.
thing, yes. Yep, so that'd be a shared effort.
Okay.
With both entities.
Have we experienced that kind of an arrangement before here? Or
Not
have
here.
you in your past?
No.
No, and no, and no.
No and no. Yeah, it's not an unusual arrangement.
All right.
There are other examples, certainly. But it's not unheard of.
I think it would be good, to John's point, to look at the condo docs for those other examples.
Yes,
I'm a trustee at my condo and
Right.
I've had experience with other ones as well. So I'd be happy to take a look as well, just to kind of, but I think you want a real estate attorney who, and I'm not sure whether our normal town council would, have that. It's a real specific type of experience.
Yeah, it's a public-private entity here, so.
yes.
So I
Right.
don't
No,
know what the special,
it's not your run-of-the-mill
No.
arrangement.
I don't know what the special considerations are.
But even when it's all private, condominium law is very specific, has some curves to it.
Yeah, a lot of nuances.
Right.
That deserve a little extra attention. And in terms of the community center and the building over at Harbor Point, again, the discussions are ongoing. Hopeful that we can come to a resolution that accommodates all the parties. Nothing definitive yet, but we're hoping to. The discussions are continuing. We'll hope to bring that to a resolution in the next few weeks.
And I did have someone reach out to me, asking if we had this on the agenda for tonight, and I said no, because it's not a town issue. It is between the Manchester Community Center building owners and the property owners. So, I think it's really great that the town is trying to assist and facilitate. Have we put on the website, though, that it's not the town? Because I know that the Manchester social media site, there was a lot of incorrect information going around on that.
I don't think we have put much on.
It's not our.
Right.
fall, but
No.
I don't know.
Okay, so we haven't been public about any of this at this point, other than what we're saying right here. There hasn't been any other outlet.
Well, at the last meeting, we talked about
a
it,
little
and
bit.
you know, you gave a green light to try to negotiate a resolution that would potentially be a win for the community center, win for the town, and the association would be comfortable with it. So we're acting on that. And we don't have any conclusive resolution, but I think it continues to move, and I hope to be a positive direction.
Okay. All right, well, I mean, I'm not on social media per se. I have not seen what the comments are. Becky says they're rather extensive.
There's been a lot of back and
Okay.
forth, but it's very little has been accurate.
Okay,
So I've met with the community center board a number of times. We have good open dialogue and communication. So I think they are comfortable with knowing what we're trying to do to facilitate. So I think that's probably the most important play
Okay.
from that perspective.
good. All right, anything else on administrative report or the community center per se? Okay, we're set with that. Is Michelle around yet? You see her?
Sorry, I don't. Something must have come up.
I don't want to get into the budget items at this point. Liaison comments from anyone here?
If I may,
You may.
I think everybody saw the letter from Harbor Advisory Committee. Anyway, it's, they sent an email or letter which they received back in April. And forwarded it on to all of us. And I CC'd Greg and Debbie on it, as well as Bion, who'd not been on the email which was sent to us, and just expressing some concerns. But I had a concern with sort of how the letter read, and that there seems to be some either confusion or misunderstanding regarding their charge or charges. And of course, we are working on governance and trying to get all boards, committees, etc., clear on, okay, what is your mission statement and what are you as a group charged with? So I don't.
I'm actually confused. I'm not, what email are you referring to? Could you just tell me what, because I've been away and I'm sure I missed it. I just want to make sure I go back.
Yeah.
Say that.
And while you're looking at that, the letter itself pretty much reflected, the gentleman who wrote the letter was an applicant for the Harbor Advisory Committee. And it basically reflected everything he discussed, what his view of what the harbor was going to be. He wanted to see the harbor.
Right, which has been discussed and previously, and I don't think that we should be, because it's not on the agenda, we can't really be
No.
deliberating or discussing any of that. However, except to say that much of that has already been discussed. I'm looking.
So, are you asking that
I'm just giving an update and make sure everybody has had a chance to look at the letter.
I have not. So is there any lack of clarity though on the charter for that committee? Is that something?
I'm not gonna speak for them. I can
Okay.
only say how I perceived the email, and it seemed not necessarily in line with their function as an advisory group to the select board and the harbor master.
And again, my impression to that was that the feeling was that the select board overshot their headlights. Is that a fair assessment?
Um. I think it was more that we
Straight
just didn't
outside.
take them into consideration. I mean, this is not something that has been recently brought forward. I think some of it we've been talking about for quite some time.
I'll just. take a
But
look
yes,
at it.
I think, Brian, that is a
Find
part
from
of
me
it.
and send it. I don't. have it.
And I'm trying to.
Alright.
open it
Well,
up.
That'll be a topic of
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay, I just.
That may be, I'm just looking to see if it's on our action item list.
Actually, is it on the agenda tonight?
So it really
Well,
is.
it is on the agenda, right? My
Maybe under the,
computer's frozen.
No, it's not on the agenda, but that could be an item that should be on our action items, I would think.
Yeah.
in the Not too distant.
Oh, that's what thank you. The action item I thought was missing was follow-up, not on the Harbor Advisory Committee, but the Harbor Master Plan. We reinstituted it,
Yes,
but we didn't specify a date by when they were gonna come back to us with some next steps or whatever. So I thought
Yeah.
that should be added to the action item list. Thank you. That's what
Okay, all right.
yeah, we can get a date from them.
Yeah, we need to
Right,
get
I think we need
updated there
regular
because
checks.
they're circling their wagons there, I guess, they're reorganizing themselves.
They're gonna be more formal,
Yes.
so they will, but they're moving ahead with bringing on board the consultant. U.S. Lawson. To help with crafting the management plan.
Okay, and I don't know where that all stands, they have to tell us.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So we'll get an update from them.
Mr. Gates has a comment?
Comment on the harbor management communication. When prowling through after hearing about this letter.
Excuse me, point of order, that, are we,
We can take
the
one
Harbor
comment.
Point Convent. I came across in the act of 1931, chapter something or other, that the town has an obligation to fill in the land here and time as the harbor high tide mark rises, an obligation to fill in another foot above the high tide mark. And that may be something that harbor management should be looking into. It's an ongoing obligation in that of the inhabitants of the town of Manchester.
All right, that is a topic that perhaps you would take up with them
Well,
a few weeks down the road.
your response.
Yeah.
I think should mention that that's something they should add.
Okay, to their list. All right, it's in the minutes here. Thank you. Okay.
Just one quick liaison update. We're gonna discuss parking at the next, did I see that on the potential agenda for next time? Or is that on the action item list? Because, oh, so we're not gonna discuss parking again until February. Is that the,
That was,
okay, okay.
with the exception of the Beach Street issue.
Well, that's what I'm questioning. So I took the action from the last meeting to bring the Beach Street question to both Bike and Ped and downtown improvement, and the kiosks, all that stuff that. We already got the feedback from Bike and Ped, which I sent to you the last time. Downtown improvement, they suggested that we consult with the Chamber of Commerce. The Downtown Improvement Committee was very, they seemed to be amenable to some of the suggestions for the Harbor Street crosswalk, and also we didn't get to discuss Chief Fitzgerald's thoughts on kiosks last time. So they were, open to that. However, they thought that the business community might have a different perspective, so we should make a point. I don't know when the next Chamber of Commerce meeting is in Manchester. I was kind of expecting it to be this month, but I didn't see anything. So
Yeah, we haven't heard, yeah.
yeah, it was due this month, but haven't heard anything from Erica. So just when we meet with them again, this would be something we should
Sure.
asked Todd to bring up.
Yep.
That was it.
All right. It's certainly now time for, the pickleball update. I'd like to preface, I see Cheryl is here, so we're set to go, I'm assuming. Just like to preface all of the comments that will occur here, that this is a meeting where we will be collecting information and getting an update on exactly where this pickleball situation stands. We're not anticipating making any decisions this evening. The whole situation really has several different challenges. One, we seem to be in the forefront, if not number one, in terms of moving around, trying to solve this problem, and we're number one in the country, it appears. I assume that those who have an interest in this topic have perhaps Googled it a little bit, and there isn't anyone that has found a solution and said, okay, this is what we did and this is what has worked or hasn't worked. They're all searching around. So we're at the very front of trying to address this problem. Second, I'd say technology seems to be moving fairly quickly. So whatever we look at now is not necessarily going to be a reasonable solution in, say, 3 months or 4 months or 6 months or whatever, because things are changing, because there is a demand to find solutions to the sound problem. And I think finally, we've got to spend our money wisely here. We have, I don't know, $19,000 or $20,000, and the opportunity for constantly figuring out, hey, does this work? No, let's try something else. It would probably be a challenge to raise more monies. There's no guarantee that will happen. So we have to make sure that what we do makes sense and will work for us in the intermediate to long term. So with that, I will turn it over to Cheryl Marshall, head of our Parks and Rec.
Thank you. I didn't need to introduce myself. Thank you. Well, when I was last before the board in July, I reported that USA Pickleball was coming out. They were gonna run some tests and use us as a test site for some of the sound mitigation materials that they're testing. After a very busy summer, they were scheduled to come out in August, didn't get here till September. So Carl Schmitz from USA Pickleball, he's Managing Director, Equipment Standards and Facilities Development, came out here himself on Monday, September 25th. Unfortunately, I was on vacation that day, but luckily Carl was able to do everything he wanted to do with the help of our pickleball representative, Jeff Sones. Thank you, Jeff. He was extremely helpful to Carl, as he has been to me, so thank you. And you're gonna be mad at me for that, but thank you. So Carl is different from the USA Pickleball ambassador I had at our last meeting, Joe Lyman. Joe was a volunteer for USA Pickleball who also worked for a company that sells sound mitigation material. Carl, on the other hand, who should be here, I can't tell him yet, but he'll be here tonight on through Zoom. He works full-time for USA Pickleball and is in the forefront of their latest endeavor. Kyle has been busy traveling the country for USA Pickleball and their initiative to reduce the sport's sound output during recreational play. USA Pickleball is currently working on a quiet category to recognize products that reduce acoustic output without negatively impacting the game. They're investing in research and creation of equipment and solutions to enable more communities to enjoy the sport, which is exactly in line with what we as the Park and Rec Committee are trying to do. Since he has been on the road and going from location to location, he has not had time to submit a written report to me yet or review the data and get that to me. So instead, he said he would be able to come here tonight and give some highlights. So instead of me giving you an update from him being here, he's going to give the update himself. So someone has control of the Zoom over
Greg
there.
does.
Excellent. So this will be also the first time that I'm hearing it, but I'll let him talk and then I'll add it in at the end, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the leadership here in Manchester. I was able to spend both Sunday and Monday at the site here this last weekend to take readings and observe the overall acoustic soundscape at the area. By the way, I'm not indicting the report previously done. But I have some additional data. I'm still going through it. As Cheryl indicated, I'm on the road and not back in my office yet to process the data, but I can give you some initial findings. The courts lie at a confluence of of an existing soundscape consisting of significant and measurably steady acoustic emissions. State Route 127, the MBTA at up to 26 times per day, in a park that already hosts baseball, soccer, and basketball. They significantly contribute to the overall acoustic input in that area. Given the weather conditions and schedule, of course, these were not in use at the time I was there. One of the things I wanted to bring up is that the type of equipment that's used in parks nationally, in most cases, has been sourced from big box and online stores, and they're close to 90 decibels and 1200 hertz. The trend has been through material progress and manufacturing process improvements to closer to 1000 hertz and 85 decibels. So we've seen an improvement over time in that case. So that's an important point to take into account. More recently, manufacturers have been able to reach even lower thresholds, closer to 80 decibels and 600 hertz, which we tested at the site there this weekend, and I'll have a summary report on that here shortly. The net of what I wanted to share with you is that there's three directions that you could take here. One is hold fast on the fact that this is a recreation zone park with an existing acoustic condition. The traffic from 127, the train, 26 plus times a day, and overall, the output from the park in general means that it's a high, it's got a high acoustic footprint. Second piece is that you could mitigate partially or completely with a sound barrier that meets budget and performance criteria. We've tested several of those and left a couple of them in place for Cheryl to evaluate here over the next few weeks from one of the manufacturers. And the last, of course, is to mandate equipment that drives the acoustic emissions below what you would consider, an acceptable or an unacceptable level. So there's a few processes that we can help support here going forward that we would, USA Pickleball would put some support behind. I'll take a beat there.
Take a beat. Oh, in case anybody wants to comment, you mean? Right. Okay. Thank you, Carl. So I've seen the product that's down there. It's Acoustic Fence is the company. So they have on facing the course on the right-hand side, they have the more of the reflective type barrier. And then on the other side, they have more of the absorbing barrier. It is a prototype on the far end. So it's a print of like leaves and whatnot, which I think would be wonderful on the street side. And then it's solid black on the other side, which, so like I said, it's prototype, so they're just starting to work on it. Acoustic Fence is the company that had done some projects for other towns that didn't, my opinion and some fact, would go so well because it was just reflecting the sound and people weren't totally happy with it. So now they're working on the absorbing. So that's part of what John was saying, the technology that's advancing. I have been talking to the Acoustic Fence company as well as the Hush Tech, which is guy who was here before, and the DDS Acoustical. All three of those companies have a transparent, which is part of something that the neighbors would like to see, not a black wall. If you have gone by, it's nice to see that something's happening, but that was just for an example. And if it were to go the length of the fence, it looks like a black wall. So, you know, plans to work with those companies to see, have a couple of options. Some have shown to be half and half, you know, half solid, half transparent. Some have said a couple panels solid and then a couple panels of transparent. So we do still have a little ways to go with it. Carl, how much of a difference did you see between the two products?
I think the Acousti-Block products, the ones that remain in place right now, are probably the best solution. They're tested. We've got the numbers on them, and of course, they're already in place, and you can evaluate the impact as they're already there. They're, from a pricing standpoint, I believe they're within budget. I haven't seen your numbers, but I think they will do the trick. The silencer SLN stroke CR products are new to the market. We're expecting some numbers back on the lab tests for those as well. They're lighter and could be placed seasonally. By that, I mean, you could put them in place during the course of the summer and then take them down during the heavy weather months as well. And that would preserve the life cycle of the products. And so this is a moving target. You know, there's new information coming every day. We'll provide that to you, Cheryl, as well. And so just let us know, how we can support this process.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anybody else?
Ryan, anything?
No, at this point, I think that we still have a homework to do.
I mean, I think we're doing what we need to do. We're trying to find the right solution. We haven't found it yet, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. Becky, any
Agree.
thoughts? So this product, Carl, this product is not installed anywhere else at this point in time. This is like new.
The product that's left in place has been installed in probably hundreds of locations. This is from Acousti-Fence or Acousti-Block. They're located in Tampa, Florida, and they've been in business for quite some time. The new product, Silencer SLN stroke CR, is new to market. It's a new technology using nanofibers. So the short answer is no, it's not been installed anywhere yet. We're still evaluating the product. We're looking for test sites that would be interested in hosting installations of the product.
Are we on that list?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that particular, the latest technology, and I mean, you have some laboratory data that performs perhaps better than the existing technology that you've got installed in several locations. Not you, but the company has. It's a bit more
That's
dampening.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. That's correct. The attenuation is different. It dials down the frequency as opposed to the sound pressure, which is different. And so we're working with the supplier and also with the testing entity to get a better grip on the output. And we'd love to find a couple of locations that are willing to work with us.
Is this something that will provide a solution that gets us below whatever the sound level is we have to get, or is it just going to provide a delta difference in terms of whatever the sound level currently is?
It's a former. From
Okay.
our perspective, we need to, we need to address the perception, right? Which includes the frequency, not just the sound pressure, but the frequency. And I believe this product, as I've described it, may do so.
Actually, John, I do have a question. For Cheryl, refresh my memory, the courts, are they enclosed with a fence that we lock to prevent off hours use, or is all courts today?
So they're fenced in,
Yeah.
and we were locking them, unlocking and locking them, and then we got cameras from the, police installed the camera.
Okay.
So since the camera has been there, we haven't been locking all the time, but knowing that the police can check it.
Because part of the information that I saw indicated that, it may be more than just residents who are using the courts, right?
Right.
So I guess as part of our thought process here, it may not be something we can implement this year, but for next year or something, would we entertain only allowing residents, to use the courts, which may reduce the usage a bit and therefore also contribute to some type of sound reduction for the neighborhood. I mean, the residents pay for it, so.
Right, that is always a possibility, but it's not really what we do in our parks and open areas. It's not. I don't think as a park and rec professional and what my committee thinks it's not something that they want to do. And then to be able to monitor it, we really, any areas we've made resident only, like the beach or whatever, can really only monitor it through the parking. So then that would be, you have to have a resident sticker on your.
So that's why I asked if it was a locked gate, because, to get into some of the marinas, you have a little fob, you get in, it's automatic, no one has to quote unquote monitor. So, but, a resident, if they wanted access to the pickleball courts, would have to, pay for the fob. So there's other models. I think it, depending on how long it's going to take to find a technical solution that will mitigate the sound. I'm just trying to think of, are there other things we can do that, aren't costly and don't take a lot of calories to implement to reduce the amount of sound? And that's one that kind of came to mind that would not require, people standing there asking for a driver's license.
Right. We have already found they used to be going really way down. I would expect it. So I don't know if there's more course being built, but kind of the initial year of them being new, I think we kind of peaked with use. It's still getting plenty of use, but the camera's great because I can also monitor, how many courts are being used at certain times of day. And there does tend to be busier times than other times, and Sunday mornings tend to be a busy time. But the nighttime use has dropped off a lot. Daylight right earlier as well, but the whole month of September, I mean, we've had 9 days with no use because it's been raining, but overall, just throughout the day and everything, the use has dropped a lot.
As I'd expect, and like I said, I'm not suggesting we do something right this second, but if we come back and figure out that it's gonna take us another year or something to implement some sort of soundproofing, I think we need to be open to other options. And I'm just trying to spitball here a little bit and see if there's other things we can do.
Yes, Becky.
I think that nature will help out very shortly with the amount of use that we'll be seeing out there. I don't want to minimize the two people who have concerns, because they do have concerns and they are very real. I would like to point out that we've had a lot of people in favor, including abutters. So I'm concerned about, we will never make everybody happy, but do we put a huge amount of resources into a town meeting, voted and supported public area. I mean, it's a public park. It's been a public park for a long time. It was fallow for a little bit. And in the beginning, when we had the skate park, there was a big hullabaloo about that, and then it went away, and as did the use eventually. I think that just because two people are louder and more persistent does not make their desires more important than anybody else's. I just, board talks first, Will.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to put that out there as, again, because we have discussed this a lot.
Question, Cheryl, have you looked at the camera data and tracked it at all in terms of use over the past 2 months? How long have the cameras been up there?
I think it's about 6 weeks. that they've been
Just
up
6
there.
weeks?
Yeah, I did go back through the whole month of September. I was able to check.
Okay,
So, and Jeff's down there a lot. So I have the data from the cameras, and I also have Jeff who is there and can see it. That still getting many views, but they're not getting used like they were in the beginning, you know, or in the summer, or you know, it is
yeah,
leveling off a little bit.
I think it would be helpful to kind of keep track on that.
Yeah.
We're not looking for every minute or anything, but it
Right.
would be good to know how many hours it might be in use or not in use. And how that is trending.
Yeah.
As Becky said, of course, yeah, winter's coming here and daylight savings time goes away when? A month,
No, a few weeks,
I mean,
couple
you're-
of weeks.
7:15, it's pretty dark out there now. To that end, your sign has 8 AM to 8 PM. Oh, I guess it has to say something about sunset.
The sign actually says 8 PM now because when the
Well, that
police
was-
were in charge of checking it, they needed kind of a hard time because
Yes,
some people
understood.
were saying something at 6:31, others were saying 6:35, so we made the hard stop at 8 PM. But nobody's down in the dark. There is a sign that says no headlamps. So I would say from the cameras in the last month, no one's been down there after 6:30.
People
At
playing
least
this
not
game
doing
with
pickleball.
headlamps? I mean, is
There
that
was
why that
one
sign is
person
there?
at one point.
I
Trying to picture that, that's all.
Yeah.
Interesting visual.
Rumor has it there was one person.
It also sounds like.
Wasn't me. Wasn't me.
Okay, all right. Well, it would be useful to know how that is trending. As Becky had said, yeah, I think things tend to trend. I do not think this is going like skateboard and other thing. I think it's
Gonna
Here.
stick around, but.
it's cutting across all of the strata of, you know, I don't care whether you're 30 years old or 80 years old.
Carl has. his
Every-
hand up.
Right, you do see
Yes,
that.
Carl.
Thank you. Just a comment. I appreciate the attention to detail that this township has paid to this. There's a opportunity to address the local players and those that want to participate in the sport. But also I do appreciate the fact that there may be an impact to a couple of local residents to this. So we're doing everything we can to approach this from a equipment standpoint, testing standpoint, and planning perspective as well, to make sure that there aren't these issues in the future. So anything we can do to support. Cheryl's been very proactive in this case, and so anything we can do to make sure that this doesn't propose a problem in the future, it would be good. So anyway, thanks for the chance to present to the group here, and Cheryl, anything you need, let us know.
Thank
Do
you.
do we have a sense of timing?
Yes.
So if we become a pilot site, is that something that happens this fall, or is it something that happens next spring? No, he's still there.
Okay. Carl, that's for you.
Carl, are you still there?
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, I was asking about timing. If we want to go forward with the test site, a pilot site, how quickly could that happen? Or is it a fall project or is it a spring project, basically?
It's right now. I mean, if you like what you saw, from any one of the suppliers from, the silencer or, the other candidates for this, we can move, fairly quickly.
I have a question.
Carl, when is your report going to be available?
Could you repeat, please?
When will your report be available to us?
Through the next week. I'm traveling from Atlanta to Vegas here as we speak, and I'll try to create the report here as I travel.
Thank you.
Yes, Becky.
I did have one other question that I thought we might get to later, but right now, are there any components in the product or products that we need to address in terms of proximity to water? Of the sound mitigating?
Are you referring to Brickyard Pond?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a reflector. And it has nothing to do with the pickleball, but it has a lot to do with the trains. And so I'm still working on the model. And by that, I mean, there's a 3D simulation that I'm working on that looks at emissions from the train, from the roads, from 127, et cetera. So short answer is working on it. I'll give you some feedback here within the next 7 days or so.
I think I wasn't clear. I'm sorry, Carl. Are there any toxic?
Any environmental concerns in a resource area?
Thank you. Much better said.
Yeah. You get that, Carl?
I did. I'm
You- I
I'm
know,
processing.
yeah.
Toxic is a is a different word. From my perspective, our sport does not contribute to that. The frequency and impact of some of the other contributors to the soundscape in that area need to be evaluated. I'm not a audiologist, so I can't tell you an opinion on that. I'll stop there.
That's okay. I think the question is more for the manufacturers anyways. It's
Yeah.
More about
Yeah.
the product,
Breakdown.
is it gonna leak?
Exactly.
Is it gonna break down? So I'll save that for the manufacturers though. Make sure it's on the list
All
of
right.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So Cheryl, where are you on kind of a decision path here? Is this, given what you have seen with technology out there, this is where we're at? And if things make sense based upon Carl's report, and you're thinking this would be a recommendation?
So I'm thinking that once I have the report back and I've talked to the companies involved. So if we are a test site and it's free, then that might be kind of easy. Because then we'll pick that one, because the price will be right. But if we have to, in fact, choose a company, have to put it out to bid and do that. But we're planning on having probably a neighborhood meeting in November, because there will still be options. Colors, print, transparent, how many transparent, how many solid. So once we have all those ducks in a row, then have a public meeting to allow the neighbors to have some input there, because some are concerned that it'll be a black wall.
So all these decisions, I mean, given the timing here, this is not gonna happen before the courts close for the season, I don't think. It's
I
not
don't
going to
think
make
so, and
sense.
like I said, we get some free deal through USA Pickleball, and it goes up quick. I still would like to include the neighbors, we promised that when
Yeah.
we had some options, we would include them. Just to make sure that
Okay.
whatever it is,
But the courts close on December, within 2 months.
the first week of December. Correct.
Yes. Okay. So the timing for all of that would be, then you've got another few months where,
And if we're taking them down seasonally.
which you
to
do.
take them down a month later, yeah, but we do recommend it, so I don't know if we put it up and then take it down a month later.
Where would these things get stored? This is not a small volume amount of stuff.
And it's-
Oh, it is.
The only place I was thinking is luckily the dates do not coincide with the beach at all,
Oh.
so possibly in the bathhouse.
Okay.
You're back there.
Are you? A couple of, I saw someone's hand, and are you taking
I will-
public comment?
We will take some brief public comments, so long as they're less than 2 minutes. Sure. But, we have anything else here on the board? At this point, so we have a feel for the time frame, and I would like, kind of following with the camera through the end of the year to get a handle on whatever data you think are appropriate to kind of collect that
Right, yeah.
on a daily
Let's
basis.
do that for September.
Yes.
The, I'm reluctant at this point, as long as we're this late to the season, to rush into anything as far as, if we can get, some programs from, USA Pickleball, but, we've got, what, let's see, 2 months, less than a month.
The challenge I think that we have here is if they're looking for pilot locations,
Well, that's gonna be
the pilot location in Florida is a lot easier to set up
Yeah.
in December than here.
Kathy wants to go on a field trip.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
I don't think I would preclude a pilot in the next 2 months if
If,
they're willing.
if we
if
can
they're willing to
scramble,
Do it, I think that's
Yeah.
worth doing, but I agree that I don't know if we want to make a big purchase right this second.
pilot, that number is right, yes, we'll do whatever we have to do
Yeah.
to make things happen, so we have the information. Otherwise, we're sitting fallow for a few months, and the whole game could change with other products which might be more effective. And then where are we? You know, you show up in February and, hey, here's the latest, greatest.
Kind of.
So,
Later, no date.
yes, that's right.
One, with the pilot program, will we have, will we be obligated to a specific amount of time to keep it up? Or would they be putting up, sound mitigation temporarily? The pilot program?
I think we haven't really got that far yet.
But yeah, those are details I have to.
Those are details, they'll have to see what they want and
I'm
what we can do.
still here. I'm still here.
Carl?
Thank you.
Okay.
I can
Anything
comment.
else from the board?
He wanted to make one more comment.
Yes, Carl, please.
Yeah, whatever you need, we will leave the test samples in place to provide data. We will bring in additional if you need to help with this process. And so the commitment to Cheryl was, let's look at this site as a test site for different solutions. We will come out with the output, share that with you as well as the open market, and make sure that this type of situation is addressed as early as possible. So, whatever you need, we can support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to your report in the next week or so. That's for sure. Any other questions, comments from the board?
I'll just echo what Greg said. If there's a pilot that we can do this fall, it's learning. And if it doesn't cost us anything, let's just go do
Do
it,
Yes.
okay? And just be clear on what we want to learn before we do the pilot. So give them the exit criteria for the pilot. What do we need to learn? Then if the information tells us one thing, you know, we go in one direction. If it tells us something else, we go in a different direction. But let's just get some data. Otherwise, we're just wasting, 6 or 8 months.
I'm just going by. Okay. All right, questions from people? Yes, please, name and address.
Marina Gates, 31 School to Denmark. I don't live near the area where the activity takes place. But I have a question, I have some knowledge about it. Is the ball, the racket made out of wood? The racket?
So, no, there are some cheap ones that are made out of wood, but most are made out of
Because the older
graphite.
times they were
Yeah,
wood. And so the ball is made out of what?
it's like a wiffle ball, a plastic ball with a lot of holes,
So the sound actually comes from hitting it. Am I right?
both from hitting it and it hitting the ground.
Right. In Europe, they used to have this game for a very long time with other materials. And I have to tell you, it doesn't matter where you live, you're in a higher ground, you hear it all the way up. So I'm very empathizing with the people who live nearby. Not all sites are appropriate for every sport that we play. I know that field was used for a lot of different other things, but they didn't have the constant pop, pop, pop that you hear with this game. And I think maybe after all the areas we have in town, we don't have to have a space that is right next to neighbors to play that game. Instead of having all these barriers and all these other things right on the road, why couldn't we just find a site that is not near kids instead of trying to create barriers and times and so on? In the summertime, most of the time, this game is played. Here we have snow and ice and.
Okay, all right. So I understand, and we're constantly looking at solutions here, and there's no ideal solution. Right now, we're working on the soundproofing, but all of those things are still being investigated, are still possible, but this is the most efficient approach that we've got, at least at this point, so thank you. Any questions, other comments? Yes, please. Name and address.
Kim Road, 142 Summer Street, just about 100 feet away from the courts. I would like to say it's just not 2 people that have an issue with the sound. There are 17 people within the 4 houses that have brought up concerns about it. And I'm concerned that the report that was paid for by the town suggested that the fencing should be at least 12 feet, and I believe it's only 10. And that those sound panels are not going to correct someone whose home is 2 or 3 stories high. It's just gonna, I hear it every day. Yes, I hear the train. Yes, I hear the children playing over there at Sweeney. It's not the same as the pop, pop, pop for hours at a time. There should have been some type of impact study done before it was placed where it is. I think maybe I called the conservation committee because I don't think that would have been allowed if it had not been an existing skateboard park or tennis court. That there's a possibility that you could flip 2 pieces of conservation land for another. It's a process, you have to apply to do that. That maybe there's another piece of conservation land that could house the pickleball courts that are not near a home, which would make more sense and alleviate all of the panels and, what has been labeled as disgruntled neighbors, but we're not against anybody having fun. It's just listening to that constant sound. And there are gaps during the day when it doesn't happen. And then if I came in here today and started using the F word, I would be asked to leave. That's what we hear for portions of the day across the street. And I don't think it's something that we should have to listen to as neighbors, in addition to the sound.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments, Kim, and I know that Cheryl certainly is working on some of those concerns.
Oh, I've been told that happens at recreation facilities. I don't go to a baseball game or a hockey game every day, that I should have to listen to that.
Thank you. Comments online there, from anyone?
So,
Okay. All right, good. All right, thank you. So I think we're set. We know how things are gonna, well, we don't know, but at least there's a game plan as to how things will play out over the next couple of weeks. Yes, one more comment?
May I have a quick comment?
Yes, name and address?
Kate Ryan, School Street.
Yes.
I'd just like to say that, I am a recipient of the joy that happens on the courts. I went the first day that it was opened by Parks and Recs. I was the only person who came for the, the Tuesday, Thursday. And they, what do you call them, the pickleball rep here, took me under his wing. The program has grown from me to about 40 people. The sounds are very happy, very joyous. Haven't heard a lot of negative, and it hasn't been reflected here, and it's a wonderful thing, and you all should be very proud of what you've done. I know these problems will always exist, but thank you for what you've done, all of you.
Thank you for your comment. Yes.
Yeah, Solomon Winternet. You asked about the court usage, and pretty much from 8 to 11, you could have 4 to 6 courts being used. I'd say from 11 to 4, you might have 1 to 3 being used. And then from 4 to 7 or till dark, it depends on the time of the year, the summer. You could have another 3 or 4 courts being used. So it's not 6 courts, 8 hours a day. From 8 to 8 or 12 hours a day, excuse me. The courts being used. So,
Well, I've been by it 2 or 3 times in the past week, but all in that 12 to 2 area. Nobody at any of those times, but I understand the morning is more.
and it's hard to predict, even like Saturday, I think there was 1 court being used from 8 to 11.
Yeah. So,
Thursday, they were all being used from 8 to 11, every one of them.
well, the camera data, we would like that.
Yeah.
All right, so be sure to collect that. Good.
And I have spent time there.
You have.
I go by frequently. I have gone over across the street and parked, and I've listened, so I have gone by quite a bit. And I have witnessed it being both very busy and not busy at all.
So it's sporadic.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, I've stopped spinning the beach now, spinning the pickleball courts. And there were times when you didn't want to, I'll sum along it now.
The camera's gonna be helpful for all of that. Confirm what's going on. Good.
Just one
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry, yes.
Hi, Mary Ann, 5 Ocean Street, Mary Ann Cooley. Just one thing to also realize, not only are they working on sound mitigation, they're also working on ball and paddle or sound mitigation with the ball and paddle. So who knows, 6 months from now, there might be a new conversation. So
Okay,
just to put it out there, that's all.
we're hopeful. All of that stuff will
Yeah.
help.
And also, I used to play on that court back in the 70s with my parents. Play tennis, so I've been playing there a long time with the lights on, right?
Sarah Pierce, that's her hand up.
Sarah Pierce?
Yes, hi, thank you so much. Sarah Pierce, 9 Friend Street. I missed the beginning of the meeting, so I apologize if you covered this, but what is the actual noise mitigation policy, or what you would apply to noise in certain timeframes for this?
The minutes will be.
Like the
available.
noise ordinance, rather,
Yeah.
sorry.
I think that ground might have been covered in an earlier meeting. In terms of
Okay.
noise ordinances or things like that, but
I don't think we have
Well,
one.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't have
don't
an
have
ordinance that
one.
there
addresses
isn't it.
Oh, okay, I was just like wondering if people had, is it personal or because this is a community space, or how does that work?
I'm not quite
I
understanding
don't understand that.
that.
Well, there's an ordinance, I think, in town that you're allowed to have noise up to a certain point at night, which I believe is 10 o'clock.
We
And
do
so does
not.
this,
I
What?
don't think there's any noise ordinance.
We don't-
in
No.
oh, we
place.
don't have that?
No,
We have a construction noise ordinance. And then you have a general
Okay.
nuisance bylaw. Those
So
are the
there's
two
no
regulatory
ordinance
pieces
as
we
far
have.
as when you can make noise privately or during a party or anything like that? I'm just wondering.
No,
For construction, you probably do. You can't start construction at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
but
great.
that's-
Thank you. Just checking in. I'm sorry if I missed that part. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Good.
May I say something about,
ahead.
her-
That's okay. I think we've already got got enough.
for the ordinance? In Europe, they have it because they have siesta, but here we don't. have
Okay.
siesta.
All right. Okay, we gotta move on. All right. Thank you. Moving on. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Rental applications. 26R School Street. And we'll take them one at a time here. That's the first one. Greg, what do we got here?
So 26R is a property that you formally issued a license. They forgot to renew. And so we have them before you now for the renewal of the license.
What, the licenses are annual and
They're
calendar.
annual, they're calendar year annual licenses.
So in January 2023, they did not.
They should have re-upped. Yes,
So is this retroactive or is this for 2000? So this is really to the end of the year.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
And
Yes.
then it'll get renewed again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Questions from the board on that?
I just, this was because Debbie went online, right? We found this out not because the person said, oh, let me bring this forward. It was-
11 carries 51 yards. Get this.
Donna, Donna,
Reception.
Donna,
You? Thank you.
Good, Steven, drop the tweet that I sent you. So I saw that.
So Debbie, you're gonna keep that, yeah.
okay,
Okay, all right. So, yeah, Debbie found this online per se.
Right, they didn't realize it was an annual license.
Okay. They, well, but they have renewed a couple of times. I mean, I saw the excerpt, which was from 2019.
I thought they
I
did it
think
earlier. No, they had
they
an
did apply.
initial.
Initially, I don't know if they had ever applied for renewal.
That was the one, that was.
Is that proactive on each individual's, that they have to be proactive on that? This is not an automatic renewal where we send them some information.
Right, I mean, perhaps that's what we need to do.
I think that would be
I
a
would
good
think that would
idea.
have to be.
We don't have that many.
I don't know how many of these short-term rentals we have in town.
We have a handful,
I think that needs to be part of the
so we can do that.
operandi so that they got,
That's a good idea because I think most people just simply
Yeah,
would
they
forget. You wouldn't
yes,
think about it. It's not, that it's just an inadvertent oversight, I would imagine.
okay. All right, do we need to do anything about that formally? Do we have to vote on that then as,
Yeah, we need to
okay,
do that.
fine. All right, I will entertain a motion. Wait a minute. I will. Well,
I know, but I took Brian's other one away, so he can take this one.
I don't want this. I would practice on the other one.
Okay,
all right, Jill, let's not fight over this.
I move that the select board approve the short-term guest license for 26R School Street.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? Ready to vote? Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
John says yes. Okay, that is set. 150 Pine Street, that's a new one.
That's correct.
Hmm?
So we did have the application before you and then the sketch of the property.
Yeah,
We did have the inspections done by the fire and the board of health.
okay. Any discussion on 150 Pine Street?
I just have a general question. Is this considered an ADU, Greg, or not technically?
No, it's not technically an ADU.
And I had a question, looking at the layout, it provides two guest parking spaces. And then it shows a parking spot that would back onto Pine, or it says parking that would back onto Pine Street. Is there another house where these, I mean, where's the main building? And
So
what does that one parking space go to? Because I think if that is additional parking for the unit, it should not be used if they have to back out onto Pine.
so that's an existing parking area that the homeowners are using.
So it's existing, so that already, that's a moot point. Okay,
I'm looking at 150 Pine and seeing where that space is, and really, it's like a space that's a parking space parallel to the road, on the side of the road. It's not drawn that way there, but that's what it looks
Yeah,
like,
it is more
Yeah.
narrow, yes.
yes. So. They are not, to your point, they are not backing out into traffic on this, they are just pulling out. Okay,
thank you.
Okay,
further questions? On the hot seat?
I don't know, let's see, I move that the select board approve the short-term guest license for 150 Pine Street.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes,
No, this is internal here, Mr. Gates.
but you didn't ask for it before.
It's not.
It's not a public hearing per se. Okay, so, ready to vote, Mr. Solacey,
Yes.
Ms. Balada,
Yes,
Ms. Jakes?
Yes,
Mr. Round said yes. Okay. The budget.
So again, as we gear up for developing the FY 25 budget, which starts next July. That feels a long way off, but we'll be here before we know it. Looking again for guidance that you may have, particularly I provided you the various goals that you had identified last fall. And it's truly time for us to revisit those and create a new set, but if you had thoughts on how the budget should be reflecting and advancing the goals that you've identified, or some new goals that you are anxious to see implemented. So I'm interested in hearing your input on how the budget should best reflect some of your goals and priorities.
Okay, any comments? Yes,
I mean,
Ms. Jakes?
always and ever. Everything that you listed, I thought it was very thorough. I wonder though, if the town has an appetite for increasing police department, in that if we want the police out walking the beat, which I think is something we ought to get back to. We just don't have the police officers on call to do that, as well as more traffic enforcement. Is that something that we should look at?
Well, I think it's a conversation that you should have with the chief. He'll be in for his quarterly review next meeting. I think he might say that with the additional staffing that was budgeted for this current year, they're just getting fully ramped up for that now. And I think he would say that will allow them to do some of that additional walking business area and also traffic.
Because we've added
Sure.
2 positions essentially over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Right, so we,
Correct.
so,
So I think
you.
it's a conversation that is worth having, and
Okay.
I think we should have him assess the response based on the additional staffing that has been given this year.
And I only ask because we've had a lot of conversations over the last several years that pertain to,
Right, so
um,
a specific might be a second parking enforcement, dedicated parking enforcement officer.
But
for the summer.
relevant to that, this disability issue that's still there, but it's going to fade in the next year or so.
I'm sorry,
The disability issue of the police officer who's on disability.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, that,
I mean, that's money that we get back eventually.
yes, it is.
And what's the timeline for that?
So we have it's another year from February,
Okay, so it's not that far away.
so we're getting closer.
I think the other thing too, Chief Fitzgerald mentioned though, that one of the reasons he was looking at the parking kiosks is that could be a revenue generator to help hire someone who wouldn't have to come from taxation. It could be enforcement.
Correct.
The other thing though, too, is before, just a general comment, before we hire any other people in town hall, I think there's a goal that we haven't really probably spent enough time on, and that's looking at how we're delivering our services and whether or not we can do them differently. And some of the finance meetings, I've, I guess heard thoughts around possibly adding some positions for what I would consider an administrative task. And for me, that is a huge red flag. We should be really looking for anything that's administrative. It can usually be automated. So I'm concerned about adding permanent employees for what could be a temporary type situation. If we do need purely administrative help, I would encourage us to use contract labor, short term, something like that. But I think we had a goal that we probably haven't spent enough energy around, trying to better understand how we can do some of our administrative tasks more efficiently. And then with respect to the law enforcement issue, we understand there's a state law that won't allow us to do certain things in an automated way using cameras. Laws can be changed. The only laws that can't be changed are the laws of physics. So according to the, it was either, I think it was Bike and Ped committee meeting, someone had identified a lawmaker in a different part of the state who was interested in changing that law. Let's put some energy around that. It's the hiring of bodies to do administrative tasks is really not something I'm enthusiastic about. There's so many other ways to solve those problems. So that would be my general comment.
To that point, actually, if we're gonna, as far as public safety, I think that, we had met with the fire union, last spring, I think we talked about a deputy position. And like to see some of our resources as opposed to expanding, if we have a finite amount of money, rather spend it towards, harbor, 2 deputy positions. Again, that solves one of the issues, or at least addresses one of the issues with succession. And I think that's where I'm going to see. And then look at, because I think right now Chief Fitzgerald's doing a great job with this community policing. And I think that we can skate a year or two and talk to him. I don't want to cut him off at the knees, but I think that we did, I don't know if it was a commitment we made to the fire.
We just said we would look at it. And I think
we
the
should
other
look at
thing too to remember is we do have a new chief since those conversations happened,
He's
and
doing a great
he's
job,
doing
by
a
the way.
great job, and he's also starting to invigorate a potential list of call firefighters. That is part of the staffing picture. So I think we need to give our new chief some time to figure out how, some new call firefighters could figure into that staffing profile, and whether or not you flip a position to be a captain or a deputy rather than adding one. So it's called, it's like a
I think it's
staff
different
mix.
requirements.
It is different
Training.
requirements, but from a budget standpoint, you flip the position, you're right, a different person would have to, it's called, you're changing the mix. So I think we need to give, Chief McNeely some time
Well,
to
no, but-
figure out how that would all play in before we definitely say, I need another body.
But also to that point, we know that, the harbor master.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
the harbor
I'm saying if
master's
we're
done,
gonna-
I was
I was
just
gonna,
talking fire
You
department,
know,
yeah.
so
yeah.
there is, if we've got a finite amount of money, let's
Right.
determine where we're gonna spend it in public safety.
Right, I agree.
I did want to jump on, if I may,
Yes.
just a different take on what you were saying regarding, more administrative. Town hall has gotten a lot busier in some ways because of, quick access via emails or people, even people just walking in. There's a lot more activity. And I think one of the things that people like is that they can walk into town. I'm not saying that there aren't areas for automation. I'm not saying that, but I do think that in terms of some of the needs are actually going to be real people.
Yeah, so automation, when done well, it frees up people to
Mhm.
talk to other people. But what I witness is
Right.
too many people shuffling paper that they probably don't want to do anyway. They would probably appreciate someone handling, some of the back office tasks being done differently, so they are free to talk to the residents who come in through the door. That's what a successful, automation environment would look like. It's not to take the place and put robots in front of people or anything
Yeah.
like that.
No, I know.
That's not what it's about.
Greg, I have a question. Obviously, you've spoken with your various direct reports, and this is kind of a culmination, your recommendation with regard to the positions of largely emanating from that and your discussions with them and where they feel something needs to be
Right,
done, as well as your observations.
Right.
All of these are, any of these positions, and I'm not gonna discuss necessarily the merits of whether that's needed or not, but can they be like, part-time positions? Or or contracting? I'm just saying to go and say, we're a department of 2 and now we need 3, that's a 50% increase.
Right.
Have you got 50% more work? I mean, how are you managing to survive the past couple of weeks? It doesn't jump to 50% at once.
He's not.
Right. Or what's driving the work? So for example, one of the things that was discussed at FinCom was the records requests, right? There's been
yeah.
an increase, which is a valid increase in work. Okay, well, if we do need an additional person to handle some of that, what's a revenue stream that could be used to fund that?
Right.
We are allowed to charge for that. Are we? I don't think so.
No,
Are we charging the maximum?
you can only charge
Okay.
25 an hour.
Okay, so, but you can
Cap it.
charge that, right? And we should and do, that's good. But that's a perfect example of something that if we do need a human to handle it right now, that is, I really don't understand why we couldn't do a contract position. I think we just have to make sure we right-size the solution to the problem, okay? And think carefully about whether something is a temporary issue or a permanent issue. And then we look for ways to automate the heck out of it.
And also if there are legal
Right,
aspects,
Right.
such as someone makes a documents request,
Yep.
what is the time frame in which that needs to be delivered? So there are always,
and that, to that point though,
Lots.
sometimes in our effort to deliver something quickly, we
Mm.
overachieve, and that drives up cost. So
and
so-
expectation.
cost and expectations. So right sizing things means setting expectations and then meeting those expectations, not necessarily overachieving on everything, which can drive up cost. So just, there's an alignment there.
So getting back to my question, are all of these, because you use full-time in several different descriptions. And I'm just wondering if part-time or seasonal, or to the extent that the contractors you can get, if that's something that needs to be done, it doesn't have to be done, jumped in, all of a sudden you've got somebody for 52 weeks.
Right, I think
Or is it impractical in some of these positions? I don't know.
that's, sometimes that's a challenge.
But I understand,
Trying to find a.
but that
seasonal
makes it,
person
you
versus-
know, the jump a whole person is a hard decision, I think, for this board.
Yeah.
It really is.
No, that's why I wanted to flag these
A lot of
early.
money.
Yes,
So, that's my observation, is as Becky had also mentioned, in going through this list, I think we're doing pretty good. Most of that stuff is
The goals.
underway, it's in progress. Most of it was not, hey, it's a project, we're gonna do it in a year and then we walk away. No, I mean, it has to evolve over a period of time. And most of those things on that list are in progress. I mean, a couple which is, you know, the school system operational deficit, that's a whole separate meeting, discussion, separate everything. That's a big challenge. And that is underway, but that's the thing. And the other thing I guess we have not really kicked off in a formal way is our increasing our engagement, improving engagement to the community. We have not formalized something. We've been talking about it.
yeah, you've done your
And
various,
that's been moving
Table-
along, but
tabling of
that's gotta get moved along a little more quickly.
yes.
So I would say something's gotta happen with that, and I think something is. I mean, we had a discussion on that two meetings ago.
Don't we have a 5 o'clock next month? I mean, our next meeting,
Yeah,
we're meeting an
you're
hour
doing-
beforehand.
yes.
All right, we're starting with,
You're doing an
Right.
open forum, basically.
okay, that's fine. Okay.
At your next meeting.
But yes,
So it needs to be more formal. And the only other thing I had is that this, you know, I guess just, the capital budget, the big ticket items needs to be, I think.
Oh, yeah, I
Flesh
know, I remember the, FinCom, we were doing the capital planning differently this year, right, everything up front. And I remember Sarah saying even before that, that she wanted, specific, to set a deadline for any committees who might want to make a request. I didn't hear that deadline being set yet. Do you have any inkling of when she wants the input from the committees?
So I assume that would come with the rest of the budget. So in December.
December?
you know,
Right. Okay.
So those requests will go out in another week or so.
So will those requests go out to the committees as well, or just to the
Yes,
department heads?
both.
They will, okay. Okay, thanks.
Other questions, comments on the budget, additions or things to add? What's the timeline for the finance committee in coming up with its first pass?
So we'll have, on the October 25th, we started on capital.
Okay,
I should have put that date. They would like to hold a joint meeting with you on capital at the end of November. I'm sorry, I don't have that. Let's see if we can figure it out. Yeah, I think they were looking at the 29th of November as a possible joint meeting on capital. It's a Wednesday. For the week after Thanksgiving.
this is November 29th, you said?
29, yes.
okay, so Wednesday night.
So if that might work for folks, but
Would it be 7 or, I know their meetings usually start at
yeah,
7.
probably at 7. Yes. And then, most likely I would be presenting the preliminary budget to both you and the finance committee, and they would join you at your December 18th meeting, most likely.
Okay.
Is that capital We're doing capital and expense separately this year, so when you say
Well, we'll do a first round of capital.
Yeah.
Sort of as a, okay, we'll
the draft, right?
draft.
Yeah.
And I'll include that as part of the overall preliminary budget presentation in December.
Okay, so the first look at the capital will be in December.
29th, right?
It'll be in November.
I'm sorry, November
29th.
29th.
Yes.
That'll be, I'm sorry, okay. So then, I'm sorry, Greg, I just got confused, because when I asked when we were sending out the request to the committees, I thought I heard December, but if we're gonna meet on capital in November,
The department heads are reaching out to the appropriate committees now for capital.
well, that's what I'm asking, because I'm not sure every committee is being reached out to, so I wanted to make sure.
Check that.
Okay, so people should have received a request from a department head now, and by when? By when would those requests be needed in order for us to review the capital on November 29th?
So I need those by the 20th of October at the latest,
20th of October, okay.
because I have to have a presentation to the finance committee on the 25th.
20th. Okay, I don't believe every committee has received such a request. So,
I'll remind department heads to reach out to.
right, so I'm liaison to bike and ped and downtown improvement. I will send a note to those folks. Who should they send their?
Chuck.
Chuck should, okay, for those two committees, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments on money?
There are some chats going on that, speak to not understanding the process and not asking about the process prior to making judgmental and inaccurate comments. They are, people in the chats are saying, making comments as to what the town ought to be hiring, as well as a comment regarding transparency, and silencing the public. We have discussed before the function of the select board and how the select board operates. What we're doing right now is discussing things. And yes, it is in a public forum and evidently transparent because of that. But it is a select board decision or discussion rather right now. It is not public comment.
But it is a public discussion. People are
Absolutely.
listening and can hear everything that's going on.
That's why everything is done publicly.
So,
Sorry, I'm just a little tired of
okay,
same
I'll bring my computer next time so we can,
garbage.
okay. All right.
Garbage?
Other questions on, or comments on the budget and the budget process here that, Greg needs information on from us. Okay,
We're going to take additional public comments. Rich has her hand up.
Up to you to-
yes, I'll take the comment. Who's that?
Sarah.
Sarah. Sarah?
Hi, yes, it's Sarah Pierstein, Front Street. I'm so sorry, Becky, that you believe what the public is saying is garbage. It is not. It is
Do
true.
not conflate what I say. Do not change my comment.
I'm not changing your comment. I'm responding to my chat that you put on public record in a meeting, okay? This is a small town and many residents are having a lot of issues wrapping their heads around all of the changes. And it might seem okay to the select board because there is very few of you, and I truly respect you. And I wanted to say hats off to all of the chiefs, fire and police, but there are so many questions to be answered. And there really are no public forums. I am not trying to drag the select board down. I'm just trying to get a congruent message out to the public from you, and I don't know what that is.
Sarah, if I may, it's still very early in the process here. And
But there's
as-
so many processes, John, and it's just so important that when people from the public ask a question, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I am simply trying to get an answer. We are faced with a 40A MBTA project, a 40B project, a huge project coming into Manchester, and we're still not dealing with affordable housing. I think that it's very concerning to the public, like what's actually happening to our small town for those of us who actually have lived here for 40+ years. It's
Well,
concerning.
there are meetings that are held every week, almost every night, on one or more of those topics.
And how many people attend those meetings?
You're free to, apparently, you try to attend as many as you can, and I love.
I do. I have to, because I have to stay on top of it.
Absolutely.
If I don't, I wouldn't know what was
Get
happening.
involved. You're living our life. We do too.
That's right. I'm living it.
It's
That's
kind of
right.
hard, and for us.
I
to
don't
be
like it being
involved,
called garbage though, because I don't think it's garbage. And I think
I
that was a
don't-
misstep by Becky
I
Jake,
don't
so
think
she
that
should
Becky meant
apologize
it.
for that.
Becky did not mean it in that sense.
Okay.
So, okay, but I appreciate your interest in constantly wanting to be updated.
No,
on
I
things.
do. I
Will be-
truly want to preserve Manchester and its character and the small town feel. And we were talking about police presence and the new fire chief, McNeely, who hats off to him, hats off to Chief Fitzgerald. They've done an amazing job with the resources they have. I appreciate it. I love it. But there are so many questions that so many residents have, and they don't have time to sit in on these meetings. They're long, they're painful. You guys can all attest to that. I mean, right?
Be get involved and be informed, you have to make the time. You really
You
do.
have to make the time, and
You
I
have to make it.
appreciate that
Not
you
gonna
guys
get-
make the time.
It's not gonna get spoon fed to people, but I appreciate, I appreciate your comments and your interest, and I hope you attend all of the meetings. I really do.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Question.
Thank you.
Greg, question, where our extended meeting that's in 2 weeks. Have we started to publicize that yet?
We'll have to check with Tiffany. I'm not sure if that's.
So I'm wondering if that could be helpful, right? We've
Yeah.
said we're gonna meet in 2 weeks, but unless someone has actually attended this meeting or read the minutes already, so maybe we could take an action to a little earlier communication. And maybe a select board, we have the conversations, a list of the upcoming conversations. And so to give people kind of a roadmap, hey, we're gonna talk about this on October 16th, we're gonna talk about this, just a one pager flashed out on the website. I don't know. I'm
We're
just trying
not
to,
talking, we're
Yeah, yeah.
asking questions.
No,
at
I
these, 'cause
understand.
We cannot be deliberating.
I
That
understand. And
has to be made clear.
right, but I can kind of resonate with the
Mhm.
concept that a lot of what we do is individual, one meeting at a time. And we're not necessarily communicating the big picture. And I don't know, Tiffany could probably be very creative with this, but
Mhm.
just to let residents know, hey, you know what? Before the end of the year, we plan to talk to you about these things.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
to that point,
Just a thought.
that goes to the to-do list here that,
Mhm.
he had provided with regard to improve and increase engagement. And I agree, on the homepage, there should be a little box and say, this is what's going on for the next, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Or-
and just have a rolling.
Honestly, if you're working every day, I think a month.
All right, a month.
Or,
Yes, I think it should be more,
or a quarter, or whatever.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
I agree. So, I mean, that
yeah.
has to come out of that initiative.
The,
It does.
Yeah.
So many moving, so many.
But we know what the hot button issues are.
Okay, but to that point, we know what the hot button issues are. We don't know what someone else might think those
Right.
hot buttons
Right.
are.
Right.
Okay, I mean, if you want watched social media 2 weeks ago, the hottest thing in town was a community center. There's no conversation on social media about that anymore. There's gonna be another hot button. Okay,
But that's why we have the open sessions.
I
right.
agree, okay, but to try to address on a weekly basis, every issue, it's
No, you
impossible.
can, and
No,
and
no.
and they do change. There's no
That,
question.
you said.
yeah,
Is there are so many different committees who are charged with taking care of all these moving
Right.
parts.
yeah.
I'm not taking care of them, providing
Oh, but
information.
working,
Right, so-
addressing these moving parts.
Right.
And, it would take. There's volumes of what's going on.
In the 20 years I've been on and off involved in town government, it has always been difficult to find the most effective way to get information out. And you simply can't. You can send hard copies, you put it in you do the Tide, you put it out there as much and as hard as you possibly can and think you've got everything covered. And there are still many people who don't, for whatever reason, don't have an understanding of what's going on. Maybe you have two full-time working parents who don't, have time. And yes, we have the Zoom. Yes, we have minutes online. Yes, we have the Cricket and the Tide and other ways of getting information out. Everybody just has finite capacity.
That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got lots of avenues, newspaper, we've got the website,
Well,
we've got meetings, we got lots of different things, and the challenge is there are so many different issues, and it's not like every single medium has every single thing updated
Right.
as to what's going on today, and that's the problem.
And we
Everybody uses
try-
a different piece of the media, and that may or may not be updated with, this is what the hottest thing is.
And
right
so we
now.
try to
So-
get the information out. That in itself is transparency. And the fact that there are still people who, again, for whatever reason, aren't able to get the information. And
Okay,
anyways,
all
that's
right,
tough
anything else?
to do. I do have one question.
Yep.
And it is regarding the Eagle Scout.
Yes, that was a consent agenda item.
It was consent
It'd be
agenda,
nice to
but
have one of you. attend.
yeah, and that I didn't see the letter. It came in July.
Yeah,
At least it's
Yeah.
dated July.
this is
Ceremony's
Sunday,
October 15th.
Sunday in August, in October.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying the initial letter was dated July 13th.
We all each go to.
So, but on Sunday, I will not be able to.
Do Monday?
It's October
October,
15th.
So-
I will be there.
Okay, just so long as someone is there. These are really great to do. There are a lot of,
The Eagle Scout ceremony.
they're a lot of fun.
October 15th.
Okay, because
Yeah.
We each got an email on it.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We got some
Yeah.
sort of an email.
I'll try to get there.
We have a proclamation that we fill out for
Yeah,
that.
yes, if you have the time.
Okay.
Oh, is that one, is that what we've got to do?
Yeah.
All right.
There's,
No, I-
the licenses.
I have put that in my,
Fourth.
in my schedule. So I will do that. Along those lines, I need to do a survey here. The Boston Cane Award can be any afternoon over the next week or so. What afternoon, say between 2 and 4, and it can be any of those times, 2 or 3 or 4, are most folks available. They can make Gordon McDougal, who is 100 years old,
Yeah,
But
the
hurry up.
recipient. And the award, I think, will happen at the museum, which is where the cane is kept,
Oh, right on.
right out in front here. Yeah, so
Mondays and Thursdays.
Mondays and Thursdays.
Thursday, the
You
12th,
have your
I'm pretty
opinion?
darn booked.
I can do,
What I do with my pen.
I took it.
Oh,
Thursday, the 12th. So,
4 o'clock is the earliest I can get here. So.
okay, well, I mean, that's an okay time.
Thank
We,
you.
we could do 4 PM.
I can do Mondays or Thursdays. That works.
All right,
'Cause otherwise I'm
Thursday.
working. So, can't do that.
Thursday, I mean, we can shoot for Thursday, this Thursday.
Uh,
or next Thursday, either one.
No, I'm just saying, I could do this Thursday.
I can do this. What time? 4?
Or
I could do 4.
At the museum.
at the museum.
We need to make sure that Mr. McDougal can do that, right?
I suppose when you're 100 years old, the sooner the better is always.
Well, I'm
important.
thinking
If that's where you're going. with
No,
that.
I was going with, is he available
You may
that
have an
afternoon?
appointment.
He may,
Right.
but they said they were pretty flexible.
Excellent.
Gordon. So what's that date? 2, 3,
It's
4,
the
that's the
5th.
date. They will.
Okay.
Thursday, 4
And
p.m.
at the historical.
that is- okay. Excellent.
He doesn't keep the cane, he just gets to say,
Well, I think that's in part why the museum wants it there, because it's been, that they are the keeper, and if you go someplace and they hold it, they've had to,
become part of someone's estate,
yeah, they had to go and get it back.
and that's really kind of crude.
So they've decided this is a good arrangement. That's fine.
I think it is. There
I think
those.
that's, yes, I have to sign. Anything else? Oh, Mr. Gates, I'll recognize you.
Thank you. Last time, what I call the bull in the china shop subject was discreetly avoided in terms of the school budget and the $17 million more or less for salaries. That was not a place to look cutting their budget. On the longer term, I question tying teacher salaries entirely to passing licensure examinations or courses for salary increments.
Mhm.
I really doubt that the Department of Education could swear on a stack of Bibles that they're the word of God, that every course offered at every level of licensure is going to make a better quality of teaching individual or a very competent or more competent individual in a particular subject or both. And in fact, there may be some courses that offer nothing to anybody. And that we should perhaps, in the long term, get away from the licenses requirements as the basis for salary.
Well, this is probably something that you should obviously be speaking to the school committee about, and that's a very
Well,
big,
The
that's a
budget
very
is
big
coming
topic.
up and it's being reviewed with the school
Yeah.
committee. Both boards of selectmen, both finance committees. And somewhere, some such idea should be started talking about on a longer term basis, which possibly could give space to look to some of the relative reduction in costs of running the school.
Good. Thank you. Well, the school committee is probably aware of those issues. It's probably been brought up to them in the past. I'm sure it has.
Somebody's
Oh,
got to
okay.
lead them.
Yes. All right. Anything else tonight? Good. Motion,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
policy? I don't think there's any more discussion on that. Ms. Bellotta,
Yes.
Ms. Jake,
Yes,
Mr. Brown, yes.
This is record.
This is 8:30, 2 hours.
way to go.
Good job, John.
I think you should do
Good.
that,
I
I
think
think you should do
that,
your full-time job.
This is,
Can you solve anything?